I said I was going to start by killing Will Ospreay. And every single person in this tournament is going to die. I'm going to tell you now, I'm not lying to you. Prepare every question you can, because from now on, every one of your superstars, every one of your indie darlings, everyone you want to see, all the dream matchups that have been put online that didn't include me, you better start including me. You better start thinking of me as the G1 champion. Get mad, get angry, because that's exactly what I'm here to do, is piss you all off. I want you to be crying and bitching and moaning and on your keyboards going, I don't know why Lance Archer is winning matches, because I'm the biggest, baddest son of a bitch in this frickin' tournament.
This is Heavy Metal Ruben Steel, and you're listening to Tiger Driver Radio. Yeah!
Tiger Driver Radio is psycho this. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is JP for another week of Tiger Driver Radio alongside Juicy J. Did you like that intro, dude?
You should do that all the time.
I should. I sounded like one of those announcers, right?
Yeah.
It's like, breaky, breaky.
Is Yanni like those guys that were sitting next to us in Dallas, those announcer guys?
Announcers? Yeah, because the announcer guys were like kind of close to us.
Yeah,
man. I'm telling you, man, I am still on a bit of a happy high from watching New Japan Pro Wrestling in the United States. Like, I know I went to the MSG show earlier this year, but the one thing, we'll get into it, but the one thing I really liked is that something about this experience felt more authentic.
It was just pure New Japan.
It was pure New Japan. Maybe one ROH guy in the whole card, which was Jeff Cobb.
Yeah.
And which wait, did Jeff Cobb wrestle?
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, it just felt very authentic. But I don't know. I'm on a high. We also went to like an awesome arcade. What was the name of that place we went to?
The Cidercade,
yeah, which is going to be opening another one in San Antonio. I probably shouldn't be saying that out loud, because it's not for me to say, but I'm excited. I love vintage and classic video games.
Yeah, so cool. But some good times.
Yeah, man, it was a very good
classic arcades and
Japanese wrestling. But I don't know about you. I'm still kind of tired from the weekend. I don't know about you. You drove.
Yeah, the drive was it dragged a little bit, but
the first one did it. I feel like the second one,
the coming back, returning to San Antonio,
Thing is, we decided to leave at 6 a.m., which on one hand it sucked, but at the same time it was good because you still got here and you still had the rest of the day.
The kolaches from Bucky's, I think, made it worth it.
Yeah, dude, I love Bucky so much. This is one of the reasons why I love traveling in this state of Texas. Is that
you should tell people that are not from Texas what Bucky's is.
All right, Bucky's, for those who are listening, it is pretty much the Disneyland of gas station truck stops. Like, you go in there and there is ridiculous amounts of options for sodas, like walls, like a big gigantic fucking wall of sodas and beverages and waters. And also they make their own fudge there, they make their own condiments, they make their own jerky. They also have like homemade sausage. You can also get like different kinds of sandwiches and kolaches and pastries, and then of course they have a whole another home section where you can buy furniture and grills and Bucky's apparel, which features like a really weird looking what is it, like a beaver? Like a beaver. It is overwhelming to anybody who's not from Texas, and they're just like, what the fuck? Because it's always a bit, and then on top of that, they sell stuff on the outside, which is usually giant grills or big furniture or whatever. Like, there's so much shit in that fucking store. It's like a mini mall. It's a mini mall.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
Everything is bigger in Texas, especially gas stations and truck stops, especially Bucky's. So anybody that comes to Bucky's, I suggest you go to Bucky's, buy kolaches. I'm a fan of the sausage and jalapeno ones, as well as the strawberry and cream cheese ones. And dude, Bucky's is ridiculous.
Yeah, I want to go now.
Yeah, like there's certain places, there's certain things that like I miss about living in different places that I've been, because I've been lucky to live around the world. There's certain things that I miss from certain places, and one of the things, like, even though I'm very much an East Coast guy, I can claim New York as my home. When I was not living down in Texas, the several things that I missed is, one, good Mexican food. Because I have a whole theory about Mexican food gets worse and worse the further north you travel, but that's another story.
Yeah.
That, and then of course I missed good breakfast tacos, man. Because you don't get good breakfast tacos anywhere else. It's all about breakfast burrito. And like, no, I want good tacos. And then I missed Buc-ee's. I missed Buc-ee's because of like the ridiculous amounts of options you have, you know. I wonder if any of I saw some of the guys from the New Japan roster were really happy that they got to try Whataburger.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Okada and Tiger Hattori were taking pictures in front of a Whataburger.
I saw that. Another good Texas thing.
Exactly. Another big Texas institution. And one thing that's funny is I was on Instagram the other day, and Shota Umino did a live chat on his Instagram account, and I got on there, and I'm sure his English isn't quite up to, like, you know, it's maybe a little bit limited, but I asked him in English, like, did you like Dallas? And he responded, he's like, yes, but it's hot. You know? And it was very fucking hot.
It was bad.
It was really, really bad.
I know when we got there to the line a little bit early before the doors opened, and that was really bad. Good thing that we were just there maybe, I think, like 15 minutes.
I was a little bit spoiled because I arrived right as you guys entered the doors. So then I just followed up to you, cut the line, and just got in without having to wait in the heat. I was a bit of a spoiled little brat.
Some people were there, I think, like maybe an hour earlier, and they were like sweating buckets.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that.
Bad.
I didn't want to freaking do that.
Yeah.
But anyway, man, let's talk about this G1, because like I said, I had an amazing experience. Let's get into it, dude.
Let's do it.
All right, man. First day, opening day of the G1 Climax 29. Man, what a loaded tournament this year is. I mean, we've talked about it for several weeks now, but finally we got to see it. Not only did we get to see day one, but we saw it in person, and the first time that any G1 part of the tournament took place on American soil.
Yeah, I wanted to cry.
Really? Why?
When I saw the New Japan banner, I was like, "Oh my god, this is awesome!"
Yeah, right. and the thing is, it felt super authentic.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, this was your first time seeing a lot of these stars
live
in person, right? Yeah. Because the one thing we got really lucky about was the fact that we did have nosebleed seats, but they were still good seats.
Yeah.
But then a friend of ours had a press seat
through Lonca Libre Fitness
down below.
Yeah, he had
one seat. So we decided, you know what, we'll take turns, and you go downstairs for a little while, I'll come back up. And then it came to the point where I think to see Tanahashi and Okada, we all decided screw it, because there was like a peppering of onesies and twosies, like open seats in the arena. And you know, we decided, oh, fuck it, like we'll all go down there and we'll figure it out. So, but I mean, the audience was on fire. This whole time.
They were super fans, New Japan super fans, which I loved.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing that you pointed this out, that compared to the typical wrestling fan who's a mark, or WWE fans, or just any typical American wrestling fan, these fans seem to kind of like treat it and watch it like they were in Japan. Like, you had the loud cheers, but when the matches were happening, everyone was quiet.
Yeah, it was. They were being respectful to the wrestlers, and when it was, of course, a pop, of course, they clapped, and it was like Japanese.
It was almost kind of Japanese. I mean, granted, there were times where we cheered our asses off, and everyone's yelling. Like, everyone in my section, when I went down, could hear how much I was booing Yoshihashi. People were laughing at me because they were like, you know, like, oh, damn, this motherfucker hates Yoshihashi so much. I was trying to make Yoshihashi hear me. I don't know if he did.
Probably did. Maybe he did, but he didn't understand you.
Yeah, he didn't understand me because he's a dum-dum. But
and there was also no signs. No people had those really bad signs that don't let you watch the match because they're blocking your view.
Yeah,
like that
wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, it was a very, very different crowd.
Yeah,
you know, and the only thing that bummed me out was the fact that it was a good turnout, but there were still empty seats.
Yeah.
Like there was like a section that was empty here, peppering here and there, and then there was entire sections that were completely sold out. And then of course when it came to like the entranceway, like they didn't block off the angles or like, you know, the side panels of the entranceway, which were complete empty seats for production reasons.
Yeah.
I wish they would have blocked it out. It kind of took me out of the element just a little bit at times.
A little bit. Yeah.
When we went downstairs and watched the matches up close, I was more in the element because now you're in these sections that are completely sold out and there's a lot of people and people that are very much into the matches, you know?
Yeah, which was cool that you kept switching because when we would go down there, you could feel like all the noise and everyone around you like high-fiving each other and all these people excited. And then you go back up and it's more relaxed,
quiet,
chill. You can kind of feel the arena, listen to everybody being excited for the matches and sometimes even not being excited. So it was cool to get both of those feelings from the bottom and the top.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing is, like, I wish we would have stayed in our section up there a little bit longer. Apparently during Kenta and Kota Ibushi, which I was downstairs for, Tomohiro Ishii sat by himself in the upper nosebleeds and watched the whole match.
Cool.
Yeah, apparently he was up there by himself just watching.
Man, I should have walked around more.
Exactly. Granted, I don't think he would have said much to you or even wanted to talk to anybody. Yeah. He doesn't seem very social. He's like, you know, just apparently he's like that with everybody. It's not just fans. He's just like that with everybody. I will say this though, man, like I'm really excited. And like I said, there's so many dream matches in both brackets. Granted, they started with the A block in Dallas and seeing, like I said, Ospreay versus Lance Archer.
Oh, that was amazing.
Amazing match. In fact, it almost felt like it was not a Japanese wrestling match. It was very much like ECW. Like you got a big tall guy who could beat the shit out of you versus the high flyer, and especially with that sick table spot where Ospreay tried to like land on Archer. Archer caught him with the choke and then choke slammed through a table on the outside. And I mean, granted, right off the jump, Ospreay attacked him hard, like hit him with a lot of high flying and stuff like that. But you know, Lance Archer, of course, was a little too powerful. Of course, it might have been his new hair. He kind of cut his hair, shaved the sides, he kind of had like this long mohawk thing going on.
That was cool.
It's cool. It looked kind of like a kabuki. Yeah, like a kabuki actor. It was kind of cool. And I don't know. It's like it's different because I remember in the New Japan Cup, he did pin Lance Archer. This time around, not so much. Not so lucky. I was a little shocked that Archer got put over in the first round over Ospreay.
Is this his best match ever, I think? You would say?
To my memory.
Yeah.
In my memory. Because, he's an awesome tag team technician, but he was always paired, you know, in Killer Elite Squad with Davey Boy Smith. And then in Noah, he was, of course, with Suzuki Gun and was always with, you know, either Shelton Benjamin or you know, Davey Boy Smith. Yeah. So you didn't get to see him do a lot of single stuff. It's been about 5 years since he was in the G1 at this point. It was his first G1 in 5 years. And at that point, he was kind of a menace. But like I said, he didn't have those kind of matches. And it was just like, I don't know if he's just kind of, if Lance Archer's coming to this point, it's like, you know what? I want to kind of establish myself as a single star a little bit more now that you know, I've kind of like I said, even I've even said this before, that I felt like Killer Elite Squad has kind of gone as far as they could as a tag team in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Yeah. So it is kind of nice to see that Lance Archer is stepping out on his own once again. And for that matter, Davey Boy Smith in MLW, which we'll get to that a little bit later, some awesome news. But this tournament, especially that opening match, wow. Ospreay versus Archer, fantastic.
That was amazing.
You know, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a little bored with Evil versus Bad Luck Fale. Other than the chair spot, didn't really care for it too much. Yeah. It was okay. Like I said, it's, you know, still better than Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, I think a lot of people used it to go get merch during that.
Yeah, they're like, okay, this is a match that people care the least about. Yeah. That is the one thing about the G1 is that, like, for as many awesome dream matches you might have or shockers, there are some matches where you know, okay, it's pretty safe to say that I don't need to stay and watch this. And, you know, I am shocked that Fale won.
That is surprising.
But it is surprising. He did, in fact, win. And then, of course, after that, we got a technical match between Zack Sabre Jr. and Sanada. Sanada goes over, which I'm a little shocked that from the get-go Sanada would pin Zack Sabre Jr. Yeah. But it was such a awesome expertise of technical wrestling. And it really shows you that Sanada is not just I mean, yes, he's an athlete. There's no denying he's one of the most athletically gifted guys on the roster, but it just shows you that he is also versatile. Yeah. Like he can do a little bit of the high flying, he can do a little bit of power, but he was able to kind of trade hold for hold with Zack Sabre Jr. and kind of find ways out of his, pinning combinations. And of course, use the momentum, hit the bridge, and of course, pin Zack Sabre Jr. Of course, he went off and attacked like all the referees in the ring and different trainers.
He can do everything, this guy.
In my opinion, I think Zack Sabre Jr. in due time is going to become like the foreign Minoru Suzuki.
Yeah.
Like Minoru Suzuki is going to have to retire one day. Mm-hmm. And I think Zack Sabre Jr. is going to take over that mantle of being the sadistic, twisted, and also just dangerous, wrestler in the ring. I think.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody else to. No,
I think the only other person I could think of, which we're going to talk about him later as well, is like Timothy Thatcher, but he's not in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He wrestles in England, he wrestles in MLW, he wrestles in Evolve. But anyway, as far as New Japan Pro Wrestling is concerned, Zack Sabre Jr. I think is the guy that's going to take that mantle and run with it. And he's a bit of a smart ass. He's dangerous, but shocked.
He got big pops in Dallas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody loves him.
Granted, he hated the crowd. I mean, he always hates the crowd, but but it was pretty awesome. And then of course Kenta versus Kota Ibushi. Yeah. Unfortunately, in this match, this match had a big pop because it was just a dream match. Like I think Kota Ibushi and Kenta have only wrestled twice in their careers, and that was in tag team matches. So finally, it was a singles competition. This match went exactly as I thought it was going to be. It was just two guys trying to outstrike each other. It wasn't about high flying. There was a little bit here and there, but it was more so about like who's basically going to give up, between like a striking match. And Kenta is not a joke. Like finally they allowed him to wrestle the style that he was famous for, which was stiff, a lot of kickboxing.
Yeah.
And when WWE, they didn't really kind of allow him to do that per se.
Nah.
It was a little watered down, but here it was just like, you could hear his kicks in the arena. Like,
yeah, because in WWE, he did like one or two stiff shots that he would let him in the match, and then that's it.
And there were a couple of suplexes and holds, and it was just very simplified. Where here, it's like, no, like he was kicking you, like in the face. Like, he was beating your ass. And unfortunately, Kota Ibushi did, of course, suffer an ankle injury in this match, where apparently he landed awkwardly when he jumped out of the ring onto Kenta. Landed at an awkward angle, sprained his ankle. Apparently there is no fracture. Kota Ibushi is currently trying to rehab it for his next round. Let's see, hopefully he recovers in time. There have been times in the G1 where people have gotten injured and can't continue, and thus giving people a bye and kind of complicating the brackets a little bit.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But nonetheless, the match was fantastic. It was just pure brutality, really stiff. You could tell that Kota Ibushi was a little limited after rolling his ankle.
Yeah.
But no less, it was nice to see that Kenta came back to his true form. Like, we saw the reason why he was famous. And that was really awesome. And then, of course, you can't forget the fact that we had the main event, the two most iconic figures in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and between last generation and this generation, of Kazuchika Okada versus Tanahashi. And both of them, when they walked in and they just stared each other down, that whole crowd just went nuts. Yeah. It's just a standing, like they didn't do anything. They were just a standing ovation immediately. And you could tell like both of them kind of like were like, wow, like these foreign fans really appreciate what
it gave me goosebumps again. You just saying that.
Yeah, it was the whole crowd went apeshit for about a couple of minutes before they could even start wrestling.
Yeah,
it's like I can't even imagine like what that might feel like, seeing a match like that in Korakuen Hall, or the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah.
But or like I said, back in the past when in past Wrestle Kingdoms when Okada and Tanahashi have wrestled, I mean, we got to experience some of that, between two legends in Japanese.
I kept looking up for the Okada dollars. I kept looking up the Okada
I was
bills.
hoping that they were going to drop them, dude, and they fucking didn't. I was bummed. I was like, are we going to get some Okada dollars? Because maybe I can snag a couple, They didn't, unfortunately. But I will say, man, like that match was exactly what I expected. It was a lot of back and forth. Of course, Okada kind of outclassing Tanahashi. And you could tell that Tanahashi's age is starting to catch up with him a little bit.
Yeah.
He wasn't able to kind of keep up with Okada. Okada was able to overpower him, be a lot faster.
And I noticed I was able to close up get to see that he really can't jump anymore. I think we talked about this.
About Tanahashi can't jump
really
as well.
jump as high, yeah.
Yeah, like you could tell that he has a bad knee problem, and it shows.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that he's a bad wrestler. Like Tanahashi can still go.
Yeah.
He can go just as well as he can, but you could tell like the injuries do nag him. Mm-hmm. But no less, they still put on an amazing match.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Awesome match. Cannot complain about it. A lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
Definitely showed Okada as to why he is good, and it definitely shows why Tanahashi was the ace for so long. And I mean, the undercard was great too. I mean, you saw Sho and Yo against GOD, as well as like a lot of a showcase of like different wrestlers, like Lij against different members of.
Did you think? I felt a little bad about Liger. I thought he was gonna get a bigger pop than that. I get because you were sitting down below during this, and I was up there. There, it was not as big as other wrestlers.
Really?
Yeah. So that's when kind of Juice hyped everyone up, and he was like, "Hey, like clap for Liger! Like, come on, guys!"
That's the thing, because like
it got louder.
Because like for me, like down there, it was loud.
It was loud. Yeah, but up there, it was in like when all these guys came out. Naito got a much bigger pop than Liger.
I will say that
kind of felt a little. Oh man, come on, guys, it's Liger.
It's fucking Liger. Like this might be the last time you see him on American soil. You know, which I'm lucky. This is going to be the third time I've seen Liger wrestle. Mm-hmm. You know,
man, you're lucky, man.
I've seen him wrestle in Ring of Honor against Adam Cole.
Yeah.
Which that was an awkward finish in that match when in War of the Worlds in New York in 2014. And this is like 2014 when Adam Cole was a world champion. Mm-hmm. And no, he was not world champion, but regardless, he was still like a top. Well, no, he was world champion. I can take that back. Yeah. And then the second time was, of course, Liger in the New Japan Rumble at MSG, where he had that stare down with the Great Muta, which was classic.
Yeah,
you know, that was one of my favorite matches of Liger back in the day. Was Liger against Great Muta, where Muta tore his mask off, and then Liger showed that he was Kishin Liger, which he. You know, he had like face paint on and used spray paint, you know, and you know, used the mist against Great Muta and beat Great Muta at his own game. But and this third time was, of course, it was a tag match with him, Juice Robinson, and
Yano
and Toru Yano, which was hilarious. I mean, Yano was just hysterical. And then, of course, with members of Lij, of Buchi, Naito, and Shingo Takagi. Yeah. I will say this. Naito has some big fucking hair, man. Like his hair is huge. Like you see on TV, you're like, okay, his hair is feathered. It's kind of big, but you don't realize how big it is until you see him in person. Like it's super like frizzy and like out.
You should get your hair like that.
It wouldn't work with me. No, not feathered. It's like he kind of looked like a member of Whitesnake or Poison or something like a hair metal band, but it works for him. But I will say though, like Takagi, man, what an impressive wrestler he is in person. Mm-hmm. Like seeing him like wrestle in person, like I told you before, he is a man that makes the simplest things look devastating. Yeah, like his clotheslines were just like stiff, you know. And then of course seeing Juice Robinson wrestle, it's like, wow, I've seen how much you can see finally, like how much he's grown since he was just CJ Parker in NXT. Mm-hmm. So it was really cool. And it was of course cool to see Liger and of course Naito. And that, like I said, my highlight for me for the undercard was of course seeing Lij and of course seeing Liger one more time.
Kota was impressive. I've seen him live. He looks like ripped.
Yeah, this time he looked like he's dropped some weight. He's gotten more like shredded, or he's getting more shredded. Yeah, he was moving a lot faster too, which was cool. Of course, he teamed with Yoshihashi, unfortunately, fucking asshole. But which I was booing the whole fucking time. I was like, I just called him Mr. No Personality, and there was a couple people that were sitting in the section below me who looked over me, or they were like kind of shrugging their heads, like, well, yeah,
you're right.
He has no fucking personality, you know. Which God, I fucking hate Yoshihashi. Oh, I will scream that until the cows come home, dude. God, but overall, the difference between my experience when I went to MSG versus this event was MSG was very much Ring of Honor and, you know, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Yeah, it was the Supercard of Honor, and it was, you could tell it was very much a co-production. You know, like it felt like both companies were coming together. But this one was very much a New Japan show, not a New Japan show featuring Ring of Honor, or not a New Japan show where it's all Ring of Honor guys. But it's like New Japan Pro Wrestling in its purest. They had the ring with all the advertisements. It wasn't just a ring with the blue covering or the ring with like the New Japan logo in the middle. It was all the different advertisers and sponsors were in the ring. Matt,
the camera guys.
The camera guys were all Japanese.
Young Lions
were there ringside, and a lot of them were Japanese young lions, as well as the fact that there were a couple of guys from the LA dojo there.
You're right.
As well. And then of course the commercials like on the big screen were all in Japanese. The music in between matches was like Japanese punk and Japanese rock and stuff like that. And then of course the ring announcements were all done like they were in you see in a New Japan show on New Japan World.
Timekeepers.
The timekeepers are all in Japanese, and then they'll say it in English. And it's just everything was very authentic. It was super authentic.
It was like somebody picked up Korakuen Hall and put it in Dallas.
Exactly. That's what if I assume that's what Korakuen Hall feels like. Yeah. One day I hope I will. One day I will definitely go. See an awesome match in Korakuen Hall. But no, it was just an awesome experience, and it just further reiterates why I feel that New Japan Pro Wrestling, hands down, is, in my opinion, the best pro wrestling in the world. Like pure wrestling. Like, yeah, people say, oh, well, there's better wrestling for All Japan, or there's this and that and Noah, and it's more pure and it's less foreigners and this and that. I think in terms of like a healthy balance of sports entertainment and pro wrestling and characters and storyline, but it's not overdone. New Japan does it the way that I like. Because there's other promotions where it's just strictly pro wrestling, and that's great, and I love that too. But with WWE, it becomes a little much and a little hokey, and I don't want to hear a guy talking on a microphone for 15 minutes. Talk quickly,
overdone, and
then wrestle. Let's see how good you are in the ring. That's what I like. But I don't know. This match definitely reiterated why I love New Japan Pro Wrestling so much, and I know that AEW is on the horizon. That's going to provide a lot of stiff competition on this side of the pond. But I really hope it doesn't take away from New Japan trying to expand in the United States. Which I really do. Like I said, I've been a fan of New Japan Pro Wrestling since like 1995. So it is really awesome for me to finally be able to see it on American shores. I've waited for this moment for a long time. But it was an awesome experience, and I hope overall,
that was awesome.
One of the better
again, like I was telling you earlier, I wanted to cry, man.
Yeah,
literally, I was like so happy to see it. It was amazing.
Yeah, and it felt like it was, like I said, it was an authentic experience. Which is why I kept telling you, no, come down to the front. This is your first time at a New Japan show and seeing some of these guys. Like, I've seen Okada wrestle before. I saw him in Ring of Honor against AJ Styles and Michael Elgin. A couple years ago. And I've seen Tanahashi wrestle and stuff like that, and I've seen Nakamura and before the WWE thing, so like I wanted you to experience that, so it was awesome that you got to experience it. Hopefully it's not their last time in Texas. I don't know if because of the weird ticket sales thing or whatever else, because like I said, it wasn't a bad turnout, it just didn't sell out. So hopefully this isn't their last time in Dallas. According to Okada, they want to come back. We'll see.
Hopefully.
Absolutely.
I mean, they are going to come into some other cities later on.
Seattle, San Francisco, Philadelphia.
So it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. So we'll have to wait and see how it pans out.
Come back to Dallas, please.
Come back to Texas.
Yeah.
Come to do Joe Freeman Coliseum. You'll sell that out.
San Antonio? Yeah.
Easily. Or Majestic Theater. Do 2 nights at Majestic Theater. I don't know.
So
do something cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, man, there's a lot of other interesting stuff going on around the wrestling world, man. Like, there's a lot of weird things happening, man. Let's talk about this.
Let's do it.
All right, man. Oh, man. What a time to be a wrestling fan. First off, I'm going to start off with something, man. That's just kind of like, what the fuck? I was looking at my Instagram this morning, and I'm seeing, and I follow way too many accounts, like to the point where I can't keep up with half the shit that I follow because I follow too many. And the algorithm in Instagram only allows you to see X amount of posts and stuff like that. It sucks. But the one thing I did catch was seeing Sasha Banks is in Japan right now, training at Sendai Girls, which is the promotion that Meiko Satomura is in charge of.
Say what?
Yeah, dude. Like she's out there hanging out with different like Joshi stars.
That's
and
weird.
she even had dinner with Naomichi Marufuji of Noah. who, you know, if anybody knows that was Kenta's biggest rival in Noah when he was still in Pro Wrestling Noah. But he had dinner with him, is training at Sendai Women's. And also I noticed that she dyed her hair back to that dark purple when she first got put over, how she used to have that dark purple hair. Yeah. She went back to that. For a while, she didn't have any hair color at all. She had just regular black hair. Now she went back to purple. And I'm like, I don't know if she's going back to the WWE. I probably assume she is, because I heard that she did film some stuff for WWE 2K, you know, for this upcoming, you know, year's release.
Yeah, her situation is weird.
But the situation is weird because, you know, she has not been on TV for months at a time, but yet she's in Japan hanging out with different, which I know Meiko Satomura was in fact in the Mae Young Classic last year. So there is somewhat of a connection there with WWE and Joshi Women's Wrestling. Yeah. And I don't necessarily know, because I know there's always this rumblings going on with WWE wanting to do NXT Japan, where they want to basically establish their stronghold in Japan.
Also, maybe it was just them trying to
do some,
like, convince people to
join and whatever else.
I saw too that Triple H, I think, was doing the same thing, right?
Yeah, he was trying to meet with different people. And there was even rumors that Geto from New Japan Pro Wrestling, who's been the head booker for New Japan for a couple of years now, how they reached out to him to do booking and to be in charge of NXT Japan, which personally I just don't want. I don't want WWE in Japan. I like Japanese wrestling the way it is. Yeah. You know, it's interesting and it's not contrived. And then of course to do the NXT thing, you have to wrestle like a WWE style. Yeah. So I don't know, but who knows? Who knows what this means? Yeah. Or if this really is Sasha Banks truly like really rebelling and be like, I'm gonna do what the fuck I want and I'm gonna let everyone know. And I don't know. Or maybe it's all the work. Maybe it's all the big fucking work. And it'll kind of
she get a big pop later when she returns.
Big pop later when she returns. You know, which it probably is the case, but But it would be really fucking interesting. And the thing is, but she's also gone on Twitter and liked pro AEW post and has made no secret about it.
Yeah, unless it's WWE people posting for her.
But she seems to have control of her own social media, it seems like. Okay. So I don't know. We can speculate all day. I just thought that was really newsworthy because who knows what that could mean. Yeah. You know, could you imagine? Strange. Could you imagine Sasha Banks wrestling, you know, for Stardom?
I'd watch it.
I'd yeah, exactly. Like, you know how that would bring, or, you know, even for Sendai Women, for Sendai Pro, like, that would bring a lot of attention. I don't know. The possibilities are endless, man. Like, wrestling is, there's a lot of crazy shit going on. Yeah. You know, but anyway, man, up to the next story. The next story that I want to bring up is the fact that Alberto El Patron has said that he's going to have an MMA style match against Tito Ortiz.
Man, he shouldn't do that. He should stop.
You should really fucking stop. The last time, if my memory serves me correctly, and if anybody out there listening can correct me if I'm wrong, I think the last time he had an MMA match was he had a match against Bas Rutten of Pride. Yeah. And Bas Rutten fucking ate his ass alive. Like, beat the fuck out of him. So I'm like, why would you? Tito Ortiz is a fucking legend.
Was he wearing a mask in that? Alberto
He had a mask, you know, like this is during the time when he was still Dos Caras, you know, Junior. But he had a mask, but it was very open, so he could see and breathe and everything. Yeah. But still, like, I remember watching that on YouTube. It was not fucking pretty, but apparently it's gonna happen.
Yeah, shouldn't do that. Stop. Alberto Del Rio, if you could hear this.
I know Ortiz is out of his prime at this point, but he could probably still beat the shit out of Del Rio in an MMA style match.
Or is it maybe something like Suzuki, kind of like just shoot.
Like worked shoot. Yeah. I don't know if it was a work shoot. I could probably get behind that a little bit more, you know, for the sake of, you know, Alberto's Patrol. But maybe this is actually real and he just wants to get some attention for his new promotion, which debuts this weekend. Yeah. You know, Nación de Lucha Libre, which they have their first show this weekend. So I don't know, maybe all this is just kind of a ploy and a marketing scheme to get more eyes onto Mexico and to what he's doing.
And his MMA, doesn't he have an MMA promotion as well?
I know that. I heard that he's getting involved
Combate Americas, I think it's called.
Combate Americas, yeah. Which he does. He does have a background in MMA, and he does have a background in mat wrestling. You know, he was an amateur wrestler. In fact, I think did medal in the Pan American Games. Yeah. But I still don't see him going toe to toe with a guy like Tito Ortiz. Even if though Ortiz is out of his prime, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
You know, Ortiz is still a guy who's spent a lifetime doing this. He didn't take a break. He didn't go to pro wrestling. All he did, I mean, if you remember, man, Tito Ortiz had some wars with Chuck Liddell.
Yeah.
In fact, Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell are the matches that got me interested again into MMA. When for a while I kind of lost interest. You know, so that's happening. And on top of that, you know, his promotion is debuting this weekend. So go and support, man.
Yeah, talking about crazy wrestling and stuff. So that's weird.
Yeah, it's a little weird. And then for the next story of what's going on in the wrestling world, one thing that I'm really excited about is I am super excited about on July 25th for MLW at the Never Say Never event, you're going to see Davey Boy Smith for the first time ever go up against world-renowned grappler and all-around badass Timothy Thatcher. Now, Thatcher is not a fucking joke. He is known as a catch wrestling guy, very much like Sabre and Suzuki. Does mat. He's a monster on the mat. Very submission-based, very hard-hitting, very brutal. Had an awesome run in Evolve, you know, wrestling for Evolve. And then on top of that, wrestled in England, has done a lot of stuff in the Indies. He's known to be a very savage wrestler. Yeah. So the fact that I think for once, Davey Boy Smith as a singles competitor is going to be tested, because Davey Boy Smith does practice jiu-jitsu. He's, you know, is a product of the Hart family dungeon, you know, but I think as a singles wrestler, I don't think he's been quite tested like this.
So it's kind of like Archer with Ospreay. It's his single, like, do it right now because this is your time.
This is exactly. Yeah. This is exactly. Which in a lot of ways, it's kind of good that, you know, Killer Elite Squad is no more.
Yeah.
It's kind of a good thing, because I think, you know, Archer can excel in New Japan if they allow him. Yeah. And I think Davey Boy Smith is going to make a name for himself in MLW. And this is a bit of a dream match, you know, Timothy Thatcher versus Davey Boy Smith. And the thing is about Timothy Thatcher is that he also, for a lot of people know him from being a member of Ring Kampf with Walter and Axel Dieter Jr. And Timothy Thatcher and Walter as a tag team were just brutal. They've wrestled, of course, in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, WXW. Basically, two of the most hard-hitting wrestlers on the planet, being Walter and Timothy Thatcher. Granted, of course, Ring Kampf is kind of a little bit on hiatus because, of course, with Walter now wrestling for NXT UK, and, of course, splitting his time between there and WXW. But Timothy Thatcher looks to be kind of raising his stock a little bit by going into MLW for the first time and wrestling against Davey Boy Smith. So I'm excited about that. That is going to be just pure hard-hitting mat wrestling.
Gonna have to watch that for sure.
Absolutely. And then, of course, on the next bit of news, something very interesting is apparently New Jack of ECW. For those of you that don't know who New Jack is, you've been living under a rock. He is going to be releasing a tell-all book, Memoirs of a Pro Wrestling Extremist, later this year, talking about his time in the ECW, his almost near addiction, a lot of his controversial moments, and where he stands in pro wrestling history. Now, everybody knows that New Jack is a bit of a madman, very opinionated, very loudmouth.
Está loco.
Yeah, a little bit. But he's also been very vocal about a lot of things wrong in the pro wrestling business. So I'm really excited to see where he you've seen all of his shoot interviews for some of you that have. And if you have not, I suggest you go watch some. But I'm really excited to see how we kind of manifest a lot of his thoughts on paper. You know, how this is going to kind of manifest on paper, because I'm pretty sure with shoot interviews, you can just shoot off the hip and say what you want, and then later on you're like, maybe I shouldn't have said that, or I could have said more. I don't think he regrets anything he says. I think he just a book will kind of contextualize a lot better, because you'll have time to think and write and truly say what he truly wants to say on paper that cannot be disputed anymore. Yeah. So it'll be really interesting. Like I said, I was a big New Jack fan in ECW, but I was very afraid of him.
It'd be a cool book to dissect and read it, and just maybe even talk about it in this pod and say, hey man, like this is what happened during this time.
Absolutely.
It'd be cool.
Because there's a lot of weird shit that happened in ECW during that time. I mean, yeah, there's all kinds of documentaries about it out there, but if you listen to all the shoot interviews from different members of the ECW locker room, my God, what a crazy time. It was like the Wild West with a lot of those guys. But I mean, I'm super excited to hear about that. And last but not least, our number 5 bit of news before we call it a day. Speaking of calling it a day, Jushin Liger has announced that on July 19th, he will come to CMLL to say his final goodbye. Whether that is going to mean a match, we don't know, but he is going to give his final goodbye
to Mexico.
Because one of the things about a lot of people don't realize about Liger is that Liger was deemed too small or undesirable when he tried out for wrestling in Japan, and he wanted to wrestle so bad. So he decided to, on his own accord, go to Mexico and learn. Granted, he was poor, he was hungry, he was starving, and then when New Japan officials went down there to see, wrestlers train, they saw that there was this Japanese guy who was pretty much killing himself basically to try to become a wrestler, and they felt sorry for him, so they gave him a tryout with the New Japan dojo. It worked out. They sent him up to Canada to train in the Heart Dungeon. He is a product of the Heart Dungeon as well. A lot of people don't realize that. Wrestled for Stampede Pro Wrestling for a bit of time, came back, and eventually was ordained, as Jushin Thunder Liger, which was at the time a promo opportunity for a new anime that came out. But I think he's kind of transcended that.
Yeah.
Something that started off as a gimmick to do a promotion for a cartoon, it outgrew it, and he became his own legend. And we all know that he's going to be retiring next year at the Tokyo Dome at Wrestle Kingdom. But on his way to that retirement, he has decided that he will go to CMLL and say his final goodbye.
Say it ain't so, man. Say it ain't so.
It's what I'm saying. It's kind of a bit of a mind fuck, because for as long as I have been a wrestling fan, Liger has been wrestling. Like he has been wrestling almost as long as I've been alive, maybe, give or take.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like, I remember seeing Liger in like 92, 93 against Flying Brian on WCW Worldwide, like on TBS. Like, I remember seeing Liger. It's like, whoa, what the fuck is this? And he had awesome matches with Flying Brian, back in those days. Which coincidentally, recently, apparently Brian Pillman Jr. found a picture that a fan gave him of Jushin Liger wrestling Brian Pillman. And it was an old, an old photo you got developed. He had that framed and had the opportunity to give it to Liger while he was in Dallas. And, he just basically said, thank you for making my father a star. And because of him, I'm now able to chase my dream. So he kind of thanked Liger in person, which I thought that was really cool. Yeah. So I guess Liger is just going through all these things of just kind of saying his final goodbyes. After the G1, we know that there will be the whole tournament in the United States between Seattle, San Francisco, and LA, where it's going to be the Super J Cup, which I'm super excited to see that happen. Where I'm excited to see who's going to be featured. I truly believe Liger has to be in that tournament. He has to. He has to be. In fact, he was one of the.
He's the one that announced it.
He's the one that announced it. He's the one I think was responsible for kind of creating it, or creating a tournament that included people outside of New Japan's scope of influence. So we'll definitely have to wait and see. But it's just it still bums me out that really soon wrestling will not include Jushin Thunder Liger.
That's so sad.
Liger will, unless he decides to hand it off to somebody else.
The Liger gimmick?
Yeah, the Liger gimmick. Just like in Mexico, how sometimes wrestlers will hand off a gimmick and somebody will continue it. But then again, there are some wrestlers that I feel don't do justice to the original. We'll see. But then again, look at Rey Mysterio Jr. Nobody talks about Rey Mysterio Sr. anymore. It's all about Rey Mysterio Jr. When you think about Pentagon, people might remember the old Pentagon. Yeah. But Pentagon Jr. has transformed that gimmick into this like babyface martial arts gimmick to like something kind of dark and hardcore and unique, which is awesome. And then of course you have Dos Caras Jr., who took on Dos Caras and did a good job, but then transcended it by becoming El Patron. Yeah. So it all depends. I mean, I personally don't want to see another person take on the Liger mantle. I think let it.
That's it.
There's only one Liger.
Yeah.
Come up with another mask guy. I'm not a fan of remakes. You know how I feel about remakes.
Yeah.
You know. But other than that, man, you got anything else?
No, that's it, man.
That's it, man. Pretty cool, man. Oh, just in case you guys did not realize this, even though Jon Moxley was not allowed to wrestle for New Japan in the United States, he's going to start his G1 this upcoming weekend. Mm-hmm. He did wrestle Killer Cross for the Natural Born Killers event in Las Vegas, which was kind of like an MMA style event. Mm-hmm. Like and you know, some wrestling and stuff like that. And him and Killer Cross apparently had a very, very hard hitting match. So I'm super excited about that.
That's cool. I'm gonna have to find that.
Yeah, it's now available on Fight TV as well. Yeah. So go check that out. Also this weekend, Fight for the Fallen from AEW. Really excited to see what this. I know this pay-per-view will of course be, you know, to kind of fund, you know, and help victims of gun violence. Mm-hmm. So it's awesome cause. Really looking forward to that. I don't know. And when it comes to that whole pay-per-view, I'm excited to see what Chris Jericho has to say on the microphone. Yeah. And see how that sets him up between him versus Adam Page for All Out. And then, of course, you have Evolve, the 10th anniversary of Evolve. Even though they are now a WWE associated property, a lot of people from NXT and from the main roster are going back down to Evolve because, like I said, Akira Tozawa was a big part of Evolve at one point. Same thing with Matt Riddle, same thing with Adam Cole. So a lot of those guys, Drew Gulak as well. So a lot of those guys will be coming back down to Evolve to take part in Evolve 10. So you'll see a lot of mixed matches between like the WWE roster and the Evolve roster. Darby Allin, who was at one point a major part of Evolve as well as Timothy Thatcher. Like a lot of people have gone through Evolve as well. Joey Janela was the Evolve champion before his injury.
Did not know that.
Yeah. So like I said, Evolve is very, like I said, Gabe Sapolsky has been responsible for kind of creating one of the most diverse indies in North America. It's just they are also WWE associated. It's kind of like a farm league for everyone to kind of be, okay, we'll take this guy, we'll put him in NXT. We'll take this guy, we'll take this guy. Yeah. But nonetheless, you have options this weekend. The G1 is on this weekend. Fight for the Fallen is on this weekend. The Evolve 10-year anniversary is this weekend. MLW. You can always catch MLW at some point. So you know what, man? It's an awesome time to be a wrestling fan.
Oh, yeah.
And with that being said, enjoy pro wrestling, kids. Until next week. Peace.
Adios.